The finals is getting its patch 5.9. We're going to look at all the new balance changes and the new balance cadence, which is going to be a major turning point for Season 6. We'll also look at some of the developer updates, and even some additional ones from the design director. We'll talk about some stuff from the community, as well as those last minute mentionables. What's up world, it's Utopia back here with another video. Today we're checking out all things the final. Okay, so first up here we do have update 5.9. First up, as always, we do have an opening statement here. This time it does come from Dusty, although it is about the exact same as what the patch notes says, aside from this bottom part where it says also tune into Embark Oscar's take to the Twitch streams, where he hopefully should have no technical difficulties and do expect him to arrive around 11 AM CST. So we'll include a pinned comment when he does eventually go live. We also do have the brand new store update here, which includes the Viscous Visionary set, nice little lava lamp there, also the Molten Mark weapon set, and some new defib skins here, the Pressed and Charge, which is pretty funny. We do get an iron defib, or an iron set for the defibs. Jumping back to the patch notes side of things, we do have the balance changes here, or what we're going to be seeing for the new balance update schedule. So first up, they said they want to take a moment to acknowledge that some of the recent frustrations around the frequency of the balance changes. At the end of Season 3, they adjusted their balance cadence from a demanding weekly schedule to a more structured approach. They aligned the majority of balance changes with the start and the middle of the season, and their goal was to create a more stable experience for players while also giving their dev team time needed to properly assess test changes. That was before making too many adjustments. That said, the current pace feels a bit too slow. I understand how there's a lack of iteration there, and that has been frustrating. Now with Season 6, or at least the upcoming season, they're going to start shifting to a roughly 3-week balance update schedule. They said this should create a better experience for both players and the dev team, and allowing for more consistent refinements, major balance shifts that will happen at the start of each season, but the balance tweaks will now be more frequent throughout. For Season 5 though, they do say expect smaller, more frequent updates. This is as they transition to the new approach. They do appreciate your feedback and patience, as it will help them to continue improving the game for everyone. Now with that, they do have these few small changes here. First up, with the dagger, they have decreased the backstab angle on the dagger's secondary attack from 180 degrees to 150. Now they do have a dev note here. This change addresses concerns about the dagger's backstab being inaccurate and the frustration about how easy it is to link backstab. Seemingly from the side, with this change that should be less of an issue. Now on a related note here, I'll do some comparisons from the previous 5.7 patch to 5.8. But on a related note, they noticed that some community members have been testing melee mechanics in the practice range using target dummy. However, the dummies have a slightly different hitbox detection logic compared to players, making them unreliable for testing and certain interactions. For example, they've seen reports players landing melee hits on dummies while facing away from them. This is a quirk of the dummies and does not actually apply to real players. So to improve the testing accuracy, they do plan to replace the current target dummies with an updated version soon, and this will ensure that the target dummies provide more reliable feedback, especially for certain changes or certain gadgets. However, this change will take some time and testing before it is redeployed. And yeah, as you can see, that sometimes the dagger ability, you don't even have to really face the target dummy, you can just do a backstab and actually completely backstab them, and even the angle can be slightly thrown off there. Where yeah, on players it typically isn't that extensive, but the issue does still pertain to some backstabs with other players. So I'm glad they're making a few adjustments there, as I did notice this during one of the preview events. Someone was kind of using dash and getting backstabs on people while using the dash mechanic. It seemed to be an issue with latency and ping, or at least kind of like exploiting that a little bit. So yeah, I'm glad they're changing the backstab a bit, as it was a bit strong, especially with dash mechanic, and if you knew kind of how to manipulate that a bit, it was fairly strong. Now the Chaos 23 is also another change here, where they increased the minimum damage fall off multiplier from 0.6 to 0.7, meaning the weapon now does slightly more damage at long range, but they have also decreased the bullet dispersion when aiming down sights to increase accuracy, which will mostly apply to majority of different stances such as crouching, running, etc. There is a dev note here saying that the Chaos 23 did struggle after recent fixes to manual actions. That was with the update 5.8, but they have recognized that these changes have unintended negative impact on its performance. They want to make sure it's more viable in gameplay, and with this update they'll make some adjustments to help the Chaos 23 to get back on track. And I do mention this isn't the last step, and they'll continue monitoring its performance and explore additional ways to improve it if needed. Yeah, the Chaos 23 has been one of the most underutilized weapons. Now it is hard to test for this accuracy, at least overall, as you don't really see bullet dispersion, it just puts a hole in the wall, but essentially you can notice a little bit more of the damage range, or at least the damage doesn't fall off from as far away, so definitely a decent change there, and hope to see more with the Chaos 23. Moving on though, we do have some developer updates here. This actually pertains to several of the community managers as well as the design director. Specifically, we do have this first one here from Embark Dusty, who did of course give that mini reveal, They said that balance changes will become more frequent, and they do say it in the patch notes here. And as they do mention that waiting for mid-season is not it. I do definitely agree there. I'm glad that we're having meta changes more frequently. I think that will definitely spice up the meta and make it a little bit less stale. Speaking of meta and all the changes there, we did have this post about several other creators talking and discussing about unintended mechanics from the game, where they do talk about things such as cash out launching, nade grappling, and even goo ships. A lot of them do agree that they were a little bit extensive, but they still wish that they were in the game at least somewhat. And I do agree there as well. I wish we did have more play on the wacky mechanics that the finals does bring. I understand that they want the game to be geared or at least balanced for some of the esport aspect. It does seem like they're leaning into that. However, I would argue that most games actually do get their competitive esports from the community, or if you look at old examples like Halo 3, that was never intended to be an esport-esque game, but it had a lot of fun and wacky mechanics that really did spice that up. I also think with this new recent tournament that's coming out, they want to be front and center on Twitch, and I really do think if they showcase some wacky fun mechanics during those esports, people would be more inclined to actually jump in and play and try it. Not everybody is a super sweat, and I do think that that would actually pertain to more players, so I hope that they can bring some of those mechanics back or more in line with the finals. Yeah, sure, a lot of them, such as the cash out launching, was a little bit much, but I do hope we see more of that in the future. At least when they are discovered, I hope they are more so nerfed instead of completely removed, and it seems like a lot of creators here do agree as well. I am curious on your thoughts on that. I'll probably put a poll up on my Discord. We also do have this one here from the design director, who pointed out over on Reddit that he said it's a good point in how pick rates and solo archetypes can increase the chance the whole team comp stacks one way or another, and this is pertaining to lights, solos, and heavies, and it also pertains to individual pick rate, win rate, and different modes, skill tiers. And they said that whenever they use the data, they make sure to try and have 4, 5, and 6 different perspectives of the same problems from different angles. Of course, they have a lot of different modes to kind of balance for, that does make sense overall. They also do, of course, include player feedback and their own testing, which does include playing on the live builds to try and get the clearest view of what is happening in game. So a lot of stuff happens with them balancing different things. Although as a commenter does point out here what happened with the winch claw, the sniper rifle, or the 1887 nerf, and what was their case study there. I do wish eventually they would give a little bit more insight on why they actually nerfed things. That way the player base wouldn't have so many questions overall, but you're never going to please everybody. Although overall I do see their approach here with that. Jumping over, we do have one more official update here. This actually does pertain to the esport aspect of the game. So they do have something called the PSL, which is the Power Shift League Invitational. That's going to be happening on February 15th at 10 a.m. CST, 11 a.m. EST, or 8 a.m. PST. They do mention this is a high-stakes power shift tournament that has 4 teams battling for their share of a $1,000 prize pool. They have mixed in some pro players as well as content creators and newcomers to the arena, so it should give some of a mixed batch there. Now they're also going to have casters for this, which does include Big Bad Beaver and Jorgs. You can watch Big Bad Beaver on Twitch if you'd like, who is the head caster there that's going to be going through. Or of course you can watch these individual creators if they are streaming. Moving on though, we do have some community updates, and first this does pertain to mine. So in some previous videos I did talk about DLSS 4 and potentially getting to override. There's been a ton of discussion on Discord about this, asking questions about it. We've even had Oscar finally chime in because people just keep asking. So to clarify, currently the game has DLSS 4 frame gen upgrade, which pertains to both the 4000 and 5000 series, but it does not have the DLSS 4 support override for the actual transformer model, which is that brand new DLSS technology that essentially is the upscaler. Now I do make a post here over on Reddit, or at least I have commented on several of these threads, trying to inform people that it does have the frame gen upgrade, as people have kind of pointed to the DLSS 4 games list, and they're asking why is this game on the DLSS 4 list if it doesn't have DLSS 4. However, it does have DLSS 4 frame gen upgrade, and if you look at the top here, it says that if DLSS 4 or if it has DLSS 4, the transformer model, it will have a check and the NVT next to it, which means that transformer model. However, the finals only has the check mark and the NVU, which is for the DLSS 4 frame gen upgrade. It does not have the NVT check. It only has the DLSS check mark next to it, or the check mark under DLSS. And if you read under the section here, in the table, a check mark denotes that a game has or app has native support for DLSS feature. However, native support does not mean DLSS 4 transformer model. So while it does have DLSS 4 frame gen upgrade, it does not have the upgrade for the transformer model. So unfortunately for right now, you cannot enable that. As Oscar does point out here, they have so many custom solutions in Unreal Engine that just updating DLSS is a pretty large endeavor. but they'll work toward it, of course. And yeah, it didn't come with this update. It's not going to come for an update probably for a long time, but they will try to get an updated DLSS version out there. That is why it's on the DLSS 4 games list, but it doesn't have the transform model upgrade. Just to clarify there, so anybody that's been trying to do that. Also, people have been trying to override it with NV Profile Inspector, but overall recently they have disabled that feature, as I even believe it doesn't even work, as people have tried to use it, claim it works, but I don't think it actually does. I think it also messes with some of the game stuff, at least graphically, so I do believe that's why it got disabled. But yeah, as of right now, there is no DLSS 4 transform models. Overall, it should about cover for today's video. If you like and subscribe, and into the next one. Deuces!